Starmer says that you want to charge to use the NHS, do you?
It's a Labour lie. This is the Labour lie machine. I have never said anything of the kind.
This is December 2024 from The Telegraph. This is you. The funding of the NHS is a total failure. The French do it much better with less funding. There's a lesson there. If you can afford it, you pay. If you can't, you don't. It works incredibly well. The French have a statutory health system levied from a mix of contributions from earned income and unearned income. You know, the central government funding and a little bit of a top-up fee. That's what's made Labour or allowed Labour to levy this charge.
Well, if Labour are upset that the rich might have to pay for healthcare, I find that a very odd position for it to be in.
Just to be clear, do you want it still funded through general taxation, or you think you need to look at the funding model?
I do not want it funded through general taxation.
Right, okay.
It doesn't work.
We are.
Okay, so this is the absolute admission that we all wanted. There's been so much prevarication by Reform UK supporters, Reform UK, bots online, all of them trying to say, no, Farage doesn't want to get rid of the NHS. He keeps saying that he doesn't want to get rid of the NHS, and it's just a bunch of Labour lies. He even said it's a Labour lie here. He doesn't want it funded through general taxation. Okay, then it's going to be funded through insurance payments. Who want you to pay for the NHS? The funding through general taxation is the National Health Service. The Beveridge model on which the NHS is based has two fundamental key principles, which is that it is free at the point of delivery and is publicly funded through general taxation. If you are explicitly saying you do not want it to be funded through general taxation, then you are not advocating for a National Health Service. You are advocating for an insurance-based system. That is an end of the NHS, plain and simple. No Beveridge model, no NHS. It's as simple as that, and that is the admission. Now, he's not said that he wants there to be co-payments or on-the-spot fees that you get charged at point of delivery, which is why Zia Yusuf, Richard Tice, all the Reform UK figures who have been pleading the fifth over healthcare policy have always said, oh no, we believe it being free at the point of delivery. That's fine, but the NHS isn't just that thing, it is also publicly funded. If you pay insurance premiums monthly, rather than the general taxation funding how the NHS works, then you are paying for your healthcare. The fact that it's not at point of delivery and is through a monthly insurance payment is completely irrelevant. You're still paying for healthcare. I mean, we pay for healthcare through general taxation as well, but the whole point about general taxation is that it is fundamentally targeted at the richest in society. Nigel's saying, oh, well, the richest wouldn't have to get access to free healthcare under my system or subsidised healthcare under my system. They would be paying insurance payments. I'm like, well, most people are paying insurance payments. Most people in France pay insurance payments. On top of this, how much of the existing inventory of the NHS are you going to hand over to private subcontractors? It's already happening right now. I mean, it's happening for the last 35 years. It's been happening ever since the NHS was kind of torn apart by things like PFIs, by private sector subcontraction, Major, Blair, Brown, Cameron, May, Johnson, Truss, Sunak, and now Starmer. They've all increased private involvement. And once you've got private funding models through a national insurance model, which would be done based upon, I can only understand it to be a private company who would be administering this, that would lead to even further privatisation of this as well. And then again, you know what's so silly about all of this? Is his central argument is, well, the general taxation model doesn't work. Source? Evidence? Evidence for anything here as to why you think that funding it through insurance premiums would work, but general taxation wouldn't work? It worked literally every single year up until David Cameron got hold of it and tried to destroy it. Every single government has managed to run the NHS on the Beveridge model until we destroyed it under David Cameron. The money going in is what's important. It does not matter how that money is collected. It's just fairer to do it through general taxation. That means that it can be targeted specifically at the richest, because that's how our taxation system works. And it also gets buy-in from every taxpayer regardless of how much they earn or how much they make. The NHS has buy-in from everybody because everybody pays for it. As soon as you give people the opt-out clause by saying, well, if you don't want to use the NHS, you have to pay into the insurance model, they'll all go private, and it will incentivise investment from the private healthcare to move inventory out of the NHS. This is the long-term privatisation model, which is, again, pushed by the Institute for Economic Affairs, the right-wing think tank, who literally published a paper called How to Destroy the NHS that people like Nigel Farage have been mates with, at least ideologically, for a very long time. They're both born-again Thatcherite, free marketeers. Why do you think they want to change the funding model? They want more private involvement. It's as simple as that. And just because they bang on about free at the point of delivery, that doesn't matter when we just talk about the funding model. And fundamentally, if the funding model is not general taxation, it is not the NHS. Answer, Nigel Farage does want to destroy the NHS, and he's just admitted it live on camera.
Your rivals like to say that Reform is still a protest party. Is that about to change? Are you going to be running councils and mayoralties by Friday?
We're not a protest party. You won't see people in this room in a minute sticking two fingers up and shouting. You'll see happy optimism. We believe that different leadership, different political thinking can turn the country around.
Expectations on you are massive. There's an expectation that you are going to win the Lincolnshire mayoralty, maybe win in Hull, that you're going to take hundreds of seats from the Conservatives and others in council elections, that you're going to win the Runcorn by-election. Is there part of you that think, God, I won't meet the moment?
Well, I said at the start of the campaign...
The problem that Reform UK has, I've mentioned this on Novara and I mention it again now, is that there are low propensity voters. When you look at the crosstabs for every poll that comes out since the election, when you look at people by people who didn't vote at the last election, Reform are winning like half of them. So there is actually very little appetite for reform in regular voting cohorts. What they're doing is winning over people who are from the non-voting low propensity cohort, who would definitely turn up for a Westminster election, probably would turn up for a by-election. For council elections, for mayoral elections, probably a lot less likely to turn out. Getting these people to turn out is going to be the litmus test. So if Reform UK do get these people out, then that is a really, really, really strong indicator that they're going to be a mainstream party for the foreseeable future and pose a real threat, definitely to the Tories and potentially to the Labour Party as well. The question is, will that happen or not? Because if it doesn't happen, then it does show that they're a party of protest. This happened in the American elections. Trump won over a bunch of low propensity voters. They came into the polling booth, ticked Trump at the top of the ballot, did not vote down ballot. So Democrats kept winning for senators and for the House districts because nobody in the low propensity group cared enough to vote down ballot for Republicans.
Objectives were to win minimum 200 seats.
Right.
And to run Labour as close as we possibly could in the Runcorn and Helpy
And how
by-election.
do you think that's going to go, Runcorn?
I think it's tight, but you know what? I do feel optimistic about it. I think national vote share, we're going to do very, very well. I think mayoralties, I think we'll win 2, maybe 3.
And which ones are those? Lincolnshire, Hull?
Hull will win. I'm very confident of that. I'm reasonably confident that Dame Andrew Jenkins will win in Lincolnshire. And I think Doncaster, spin a coin, but we certainly have a chance.
It's so funny to me how people keep saying, oh, well, the old parties have failed. No, we can't trust the old parties. The old parties have delivered nothing for us. And so we're opting for reform because they're the real alternative for the con-socialist uni party. There is a good number of people running for Reform UK who are just ex-Tories. People are mad with the Conservative Party, so they're going to vote for a party full of ex-Tories. Nigel himself is an ex-Tory. Rupert Lowe is an ex-Tory. Andrea Jenkins, who was running as the Reform UK candidate for the Greater Lincolnshire mayoralty, is an ex-Tory. You're just voting for the Tories who you believe are failures, you know? People are just jumping ship. The rats are fleeing the sinking Tory ship and going over to the right-wing project they feel has some level of legitimacy. They've not changed. They're still terrible people. That doesn't make them any different just because they're wearing a cyan rosette instead of a blue rosette. They still represent the same shitty policies. The level to which that people are kind of being hoodwinked by Reform UK presenting themselves as a new party, that this is a genuine situation that happened at a polling booth in my constituency. So my friend posted this. I'm going to keep him anonymous, but this is something that happened at the polling station. Stopped to vote on my way to work. I voted Broxtowe Alliance and Green. Of course I did. The Reform Party team had a teller at the door. He was behaving perfectly well until someone said, hang on, I didn't realise until I got in there that both Reform candidates are ex-Tory councillors. No, they're not, replied the teller. Yes, they are, came the reply, to which the teller was categorical. Neither of the previous Tory councillors were Tories previously, which they were. Weird knickers in a twist moment. The teller didn't realise he was volunteering to assist ex-Tory councillors, and the voter didn't realise he'd be voting for ex-Tory councillors. Hatred for the Tories is high. People, including Reform tellers, seem very miffed to have discovered that they have been hoodwinked into voting Tory by another name. Which I think is very funny. And I don't think this is going to be an isolated incident. People aren't going to be realising that they're going to be voting for a bunch of people who are just representatives of the failed system of before and do not represent anything new. It is really funny to me. It is very funny that this is the position that reform voters have found themselves in. Disagreeing with the political establishment, only to just voting for establishment candidates from the establishment party wearing a different coloured rosette. Hey there, if you enjoyed the video, make sure that you like and leave a comment. That helps the video out in the algorithm. If you subscribe and ring the bell, it'll let you know when I go live. I stream every day on YouTube and Twitch. You can also follow all of my socials down in the description. And if you want to support me in a more financial manner, there's a join button for membership. It's just 99p to be a member on YouTube, as well as a Patreon, and there's some merch there as well. And hopefully I'll catch you on the next video. Take care.